Yay! Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome to our Parent Perspective stream that we are doing for our Give a Spark fundraiser. This is our winter fundraiser that we do every year, and we are raising $130,000, and we need your help to do it. So we've put together this lovely panel of parents as well as some kids to talk a little bit about parenting trans non-binary children and what that's like. You saw the link down there at the bottom, transfamilies.org/donate. You can go to that link and donate to our fundraiser. We do actually have a dollar for dollar match right now. So we're really excited to have that dollar for dollar match and help us take advantage of that by giving to our winter campaign. So that's some of the beginning housekeeping. I'd like to welcome everybody that we have here today. But before I get started, I have a very special announcement. You may have gotten some word earlier this week that we have a new director of programming, Odetta. So I would love to have Odetta introduce yourself and say a few things.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you. Thank you, Rebel, for the introduction. I'm super excited to be here with y'all tonight, and definitely happy and excited about having been named the new director of programs for trans families. Thank you. Yeah, it is an amazing place for me to arrive at this time in my life because, like so many of you, I started at Trans Families as a parent picking up a phone and calling in and looking for help and direction on how I could support my trans non-binary kiddo because I was really lost. And this amazing person picked up the phone. We were still using the phone then, and talked to me for probably an hour and a half and said all the things that I needed to hear, made me feel like I wasn't a horrible parent, made me feel like I was completely up to the task of parenting my kiddo. And it's just been a great, amazing journey with him ever since then. And what I want to say about that is that I had come from a really strong uh, place of parent advocacy. I have over 20 years of parent and family advocacy and nonprofits, and I have two amazing kids who are great teachers for being a parent advocate. But I did not know what to do, and I did not know how to advocate when my kiddo first came out. And trans families really saved us, gave me a place to come and be in a group and ask questions, and so that I could raise myself up to the level of parent that my kid needed me to be. And so we are a really great success story because of that. And um, then I got to be a volunteer, and then I started working here last year. And I said, "Oh, look, where I'm on the website. I had no idea there's a video of me on the website for some work I had done as a volunteer." And this is really like this is the work. This is the amazing thing that can happen for a family and for a parent when we have the support and the resources and the welcoming, the cushion of really of love and support and acceptance that we get here. There's really no limit to what we're able to do for our children. What our children are then able to go out and do as strong, confident trans youth and young adults, and is remarkable when they have the support and love and acceptance of their parent, and when their parent feels strong and confident to give them that. So it's amazing for me to be this in this position now as director of the programs that really saved us. It's such an honor for me to be able to give back to the organization in this capacity, and to lead in this capacity is an unbelievable honor and privilege for me. I'm really grateful. The future looks so bright for me, for my family, and I think for all the families and trans families. And Revel asked me today if I wanted to talk about any of the vision for the future, and I said, I think there'll be plenty of time, to talk about those things down the road. We've got lots coming up next year, and we're super excited to begin rolling that out for everybody. But what I really want folks to know tonight is that when you give of your time and your talent and your financial resources, this is what you're investing in. You and these folks that are in the room tonight are what you're investing in. These stories, these success stories of people's lives, of how we're able to lift up our children in a world that doesn't want to see our children a lot of the time. And in a world that in many pockets, it's fighting against our children and trying to take away rights from our children. This is a safe community that's saying no to that. We are a cushion, we are a bubble against that, a place to get respite from that, a place to restore, and a place to like really put our armor on and go out into the world and say, no, we're not going to accept that from the world. And that's the programming that we offer, the resources that we offer, the time and talent of our amazing staff, this incredible team that we have here at Trans Families, that your resources are going to support the work that is happening here that allows for that magic that's happening out in the world. And so I hope that you will think about that this evening as you hear more from our fantastic panel, and as you consider what you are willing and able to give to our fundraiser this year. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Odetta. Thank you. That was lovely.
Pleasure.
And welcome to the new place. Yay. It's it's so good. I'm excited. I'm so excited for where we're going, and I'm so excited to see all of you here tonight on my screen and all of you out there in the internet land. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to just go around and just do introductions so that everybody knows who everybody is. If you could please do your name, your pronouns, any words that you use to describe your gender if you'd like, and then also an easy go-to dinner idea if you'd like to share something like that. So my name is Revel, and my pronouns are they, them, and my gender is trans, non-binary, genderqueer, gender bereft, and I love to do what I call piles of things on a plate, where I just put a pile of carrots and a pile of like lunch meat and a pile of chips and then maybe some dip, and that's a nice, easy go-to dinner that I enjoy. Who would like to go next? Anybody? Carol, yay! Carol's gonna go, and then Karen. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Carol, and my pronouns are she, her. Um, Boy, the only gender description, I'm an old lady. That's all I can say. Anyway, but my, and I love embarrassing my kid.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but my go-to is a total Trader Joe's thing where I get their cauliflower gnocchi, a bag of their power greens, and their pesto, and you just dump it all together, and makes for a relatively healthy, really tasty meal. I just did that the other day, so that's why it came to mind.
And then Simon.
Next.
Yep.
I'm Simon. I go by he, him pronouns. We're somehow related. And, my gender, I don't know, just good. That's what I'd say. It's good. At ease. Easy go-to dinner. Honestly, sometimes just a PB&J. To be honest.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Karen.
Yeah, I'm Karen. My pronouns are she, her. My gender, I don't know. I think I'm maybe camping with Carol here. It's not really something I think about, and I realize that is a privilege in many respects. So, easy go-to dinner would be definitely doctored mac and cheese. Around here, a lot of the time it's a gluten-free mac and cheese. And we throw in whatever we can. We throw in peas, we throw in broccoli, we throw in any cooked vegetable that we already have on hand. Keep a bowl of shredded kale in the fridge, and we throw handfuls of that in there. Anything you can put in cheese sauce is probably a good thing. So that's where we would go.
I agree. Cheese is great. Wonderful. Who we got next? Dirk.
I can.
Saw you unmute. Dirk and then Casper. How about?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm Dirk, he, him pronouns. Not unlike Karen, I have the privilege of not really thinking about my gender very much. So I'm a cisgender guy, middle-aged dude. Go-to dinner. I don't know if this is super easy, though. It's pretty easy, but I've been kind of obsessed recently with this, and I don't frankly know what it's called. We had it at a restaurant, and then it was so yummy that me and my girlfriend, we kind of like deconstructed it and figured out how to make it at home. It's this lentil and quinoa salad. It's got avocado and cherry tomatoes and toasted hazelnuts in it. And then like this kind of just lemony olive oil, slightly mustardy vinaigrette like in there. So like we've been making it like all the time, and it's super good. So and it's tasty, and it keeps well, so you can like have it the next morning or whatever. It's good cold. It's good hot, or not really hot. You kind of serve it room temperature, but it's like good out of the fridge. It's good right when you make it. So
does it get even better as it sits? Is it one of those?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
It does. But though I will say it doesn't like it's so yummy that it doesn't last very long. Like, I haven't had it around for like 5 days, but it's usually gone within a day or two.
Right.
And it's good. Like then I'll like the next day I'll put a big dollop like on my pile of greens, just my normal green salad. So it's good in that application too. So.
Nice. That sounds lovely. All right, Casper.
Hi, I'm Casper. You can use they, them for me at the moment. If I have to come up with a category word for my gender, I usually use genderqueer, but how do I describe it myself? Mine. It's about all I can come up with. And my like easy go-to dinners. There's two of them. One is either bread or English muffin with your nut butter of choice. And the other is legume pasta because it cooks really fast.
I like getting that. I can't have gluten either, so I love the lentil pasta they have at Trader Joe's. That one's really good. I like that one.
Yeah,
All
there's
right.
also I got some green pea pasta the other day. I'm very
Oh,
excited. I like
nice.
having it colorful.
Yeah. All right. Mike or Odetta, who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Okay.
My name's Mike. I use he, him pronouns. Also, kind of, I'll echo the privileged comments and say that I'm cisgender. My gender assignment has worked for me since I was born. And so our an easy go-to meal in our household typically comes in the form of like how busy that night is with kids going in different directions. And it's usually comes in the form of like the cardboard box of soup with the thing on the top, which means it's really fancy. And then grilled cheese sandwich where you just take everything and you shove it into one of those like panini things, and it comes down and it just comes out cooked, and it's delicious. And we're off and running. So that's it. That's what I got for you.
Sounds great.
Me.
Yeah. Odetta.
I'm Odetta still. My
Yep.
pronouns are they, them. And I think these days, gender expansive and fluid would describe gender for me. And I think my really like easiest go-to is a can of Amy's lentil soup, lentil vegetable, and some of the, I think they're called, I think it's Idell's chicken, applewood smoked chicken sausages.
Mm-hmm.
And slice those up and you toss them in there. And a lot like what Karen was talking about, anything else, any extra little veggie bits or frozen vegetables that are, from the freezer that I can toss in, or anything I think sounds good, and maybe some Tabasco. And that's dinner. It's nice and hearty and it's healthy, and it's also budget friendly.
Yep.
Yep.
Good stuff. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your answers. I've been writing them down diligently. We will not be coming out with a recipe book, but that's okay.
Forget that there's a can of beans that we opened yesterday, and there's still some in the fridge.
Yes,
There you go.
exactly.
Oh, look, leftover rice. Perfect.
I see a blog post though for
That's true.
opportunity
That's
for a
true.
blog post coming.
What did we?
Yes.
Yes. So, what we are going to do next actually is watch the infamous interview with Mike and his kiddo. I'm really excited to see this in full. I haven't actually seen it all. I was there for the recording, but I haven't seen the full thing yet. So I'm excited to see it as well. And after we watch this video, we're going to come back and talk about it. So everybody keep an eye on what's going on. And technical person, can you help me? Do I just need to do this? Do I click this? Aha! All right. I'm going to click play.
So let me get the giggles out.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Okay, why don't we introduce each other? You're my dad, Mike, and 3 words to describe you are you're funny, you like Star Wars, and you're just a good human being.
Good human. Thank you, Frankie. You're Frankie. And 3 words that I would use to describe you are kind, smart, and wicked funny.
I can't imagine who I got that from. What was your favorite candy when you were a kid?
My favorite candy is probably all candy. All of every single candy in the history of candy is my favorite. But probably Milky Way, if I'm being forced to choose one, I would say Milky Way.
Okay.
Yeah. What's your favorite candy?
Hot tamales.
Why?
They're just good.
They're just good.
What's a tradition you grew up with as a kid that you enjoyed?
I remember when I was young, like maybe before I even went into kindergarten or right around kindergarten age, we would, as a family, we would all get together and your Uncle Rob would make popcorn and I was in charge of drinks, which usually meant Kool-Aid. And then we would all watch The Muppet Show together. Nice. And it was really, really fun. What traditions do you like that we celebrate?
On the 4th of July, I like when we go up on the roof and watch the fireworks show. And New Year's, we always hang out with our friends. And Christmas Eve, we always open a present before Christmas morning. And then
if you're good.
Not always great. And then on Christmas, we always go over, or we always have a big dinner, which is always super fun.
Yeah.
Who was someone older than you, like now or when you were a kid, that made you feel the most you?
I would definitely say my parents gave me a lot of room to be me. I was so different from my brother, as siblings are. Like I'm like 180-degree difference from my brother. And I feel like they gave me that space in my life to be that person. Like, you know, my brother was is very much an outdoors person, like fishing and hunting. And at that time I was like into theater and stuff. So that was a cool experience, like just like giving me the space to be myself. Who is someone older in your life that's helped you become the person you are?
Probably my sister. We have this thing like every like 2 days a week maybe we both go downstairs and we just do homework together, and like we put on music and just kind of sit there. We don't talk, we just sit there, and it's helped a lot because she once finished all her homework before I did, and then she helped me with mine.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool.
What do you wish you had known at the beginning of my transition?
Everything. It was when we started your journey, when we started supporting your journey. It was like getting a drink out of an emotional and practical fire hose all at the same time. It was a really interesting experience. And so, you know, and all the learning and all the love and the hugs, and we still had fun. I didn't know what it's going to be okay looked like. And I think, you know, now I do. I knew that it was going to be okay. Of course I did, but I didn't know what that looked like. So that was an interesting experience looking back for me.
What does getting a drink out of an emotional and practical fire hose mean?
So if you want to drink a water, and I spray you in the face with a fire hose,
which I could definitely see you doing.
It's a figure of speech. That's not the best way to, like, that's a lot of water all at once. So that's what it was like. It's just like an avalanche of emotions and feelings.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah. It's an emotional fire hose, Frankie. What do you think your life will be like in the future?
I don't know. I don't know what I want to go to college for. I don't know anything. I don't know which college I'm gonna go to. I don't know if I want to travel. I don't know.
When you take a look into the future, is gender a part of that vision?
Definitely. I definitely want to be supporting like things like PFLAG and trans families that'll help like people who aren't decided or need more support or don't know, aren't very educated about it. I want to give them the support that they need.
Cool.
Do you feel like you know me? Do you feel like you know me better, or that our relationship is stronger now?
Oh, definitely. I think that part of that is part of that comes from you knowing yourself better and giving your mom and I space and access to that. So I definitely feel like it's that we're stronger. We have a stronger relationship since you started this journey. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, I definitely think that you were like one of the main people that I knew I could talk to, and like knew that if I came to you with my concerns, you'd help me in the best way possible, like as much as you could. And you were just always there because you're my dad. What's an experience related to my gender that makes you feel like warm inside now?
One of the moments that it kind of captured in time for me is, so you transitioned between second and third grade.
Yeah.
We spent the summer kind of working through some of those things as a family, and
Lots of workbooks.
lots of workbooks. We had lots of fun. Your first day of school after your transition, one of the things that stands out to me is how confident you were heading back to school. And that's something that I look back on, and I was a total mess. You didn't know that.
Actually?
I was excited and nervous, and just, I knew it was going to go well, but it was a big moment, and you just marched right in. And I'll never forget the picture of you on the front porch that we take every first day of school. Yep. Holding your 3 up and your backpack, and off you went. And it was really cool. And I think that a lot of that had to do with you were yourself. You were your authentic self. And that was a really, really special experience for your mom and I. It was fun to be a part of it. What's something about your gender that brings you joy?
Oh, let's see. Well, there's one thing about my transition. I know I cut my hair short. I got like a pixie cut. And at the time, I was kind of thinking about it. And like I told you guys, but like I didn't know how people at school would react. So I just got like, like short, but not super short. So it wouldn't look super weird. And then like I was like, Mom, I want to do this. And she was like, you and Mom were like really supportive throughout my entire journey. And it's really nice. But one thing now would be that I just get to be completely and authentically myself.
When you talk about that haircut, I have that picture.
You do?
Yep, I have the picture. Mom sent me the picture, and I'll never forget it. Just the smile on your face was amazing. I know I have it on my phone.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want parents of LGBTQ plus kids to know?
Oh, yeah, for sure. The one of the things that helped us the most was we actually went to a trans family meeting. It was so comforting to hear their experience, to hear their stories, and how similar but how wildly different our stories were. We met other families with trans and non-binary kids, and getting to know them and supporting them, and them supporting us was really helpful. It was nice.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you have anything that you'd want to share with kids your age that are trans or non-binary?
Yeah. If there's someone that's not supporting, it's not your problem. That's them. That's not you. That's not an influence of you. They're not saying that to be mean. They just aren't educated about it enough. Or if they don't support it, it doesn't impact you greatly unless they do something about it. And it won't be perfect. It won't be perfect coming out to anybody. They won't be all excited about it, but in the end, it's you that matters. It's as long as you're being yourself, what matters is what matters. So yeah,
Thanks, Frankie.
thank you.
I enjoyed this conversation.
It was
It was fun.
Oh, Mike, I love it so much. Do you have anything to say now that you've seen it?
Yeah, it's an interesting experience watching that for the first time. I mean, being in the room and doing that, recording that with Frankie was a fun experience. We both enjoyed it thoroughly. We were excited about it, and I think it's a really interesting exercise to kind of slow down and think about those things, right? Like, I mean, we go about our day and like we kind of get into these family rhythms or these professional rhythms, and to like pull yourself out and to slam on the brakes and just to think about those and to talk about them again. We haven't done that for a while, so it was a fun experience. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, I so loved being there and watching it. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. So one of the things you brought up is just the journeys that you went through, the emotions that you were feeling, the fire hose, and I love that Frankie's like, what is that? I love that. So for everybody else here, what kinds of things did you feel at the beginning, and how has that changed over time? Anybody want to talk about that? You can do it.
Go ahead, Karen.
Well, I was terrified. I was terrified. My kiddo is an introverted kid, and was always a little bit different because she's also autistic, and so for me there was always this sense that the world was not going to understand her, and I was going to have to help the world understand her when I didn't really understand what she was dealing with myself. So there was this combination. I mean, the fire hose analogy is real. There was this combination of terrible, this terrible need to be supportive, combined with this feeling that I didn't have all the answers, but I was being asked to provide a wall of protection around this kid while they explored who they were and what this really meant, and then what the practicalities were. In I needed to be a source of information and support when I didn't know that I didn't need those things myself. And so it was there was a lot of tumultuous emotion. But the overriding feeling was that I wanted to be supportive, and that I knew my kid well enough to know that she wasn't coming to me with this unless it really was something that she felt strongly about. There was never a, "Are you sure?" There was just a, "Okay, now what do we do?" And a lot of tears in the very beginning. But I always tell other families that I talk to that grief does not mean that you don't support your kid.
Right.
Grief just means you're getting used to a new set of circumstances.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I really related to almost everything that you said there, Karen. And I also have a thriving on two spectrums kiddo. So I was already feeling like I had said earlier that I was doing a lot of advocacy for two children that are on the spectrum. And I didn't know. I didn't know how I was gonna manage this new journey that I didn't, like you said, didn't understand. And Mike, you said it so beautifully, that I couldn't see how it was going to be okay. I couldn't see the path, and what my role was and what were the things that I needed to do for my kid. And that I so used to like knowing that and seeing that. And you have an IEP when you have kids that are on the spectrum, and it's all planned out, hopefully. And of course, there are bumps in the road, but at least there's a plan. And there was no plan, there was no map, there was nothing, and it was really terrifying and overwhelming. And I really appreciate you bringing up grief, Karen, because there are two different processes, or at least there were for me. There was my kids' process, which I accepted and was in 100% and wanted to do everything that I was asked to do. And I did do everything that I was asked to do so that he knew he was supported. And over here was this other thing that had nothing to do with my kiddo, that was about how I was feeling and what I needed to say and process. And I knew that that was not appropriate for me to bring into my parenting relationship. Then, but I didn't know where to go with it. It was really debilitating at first, and here's where I came with it. As we've all been talking about. Yeah, that was beautiful, Mike. Just want to say that was like, I loved every minute of that. That was great. Great kiddo.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Anybody else want to talk about how your journeys or your emotions?
My journey was was not great. I wasn't supportive at first. It was really, really hard for me. I was angry, and I just wanted to go away. And it took a few months. And luckily, my kid is wonderful and backed off and gave me that grace period, and to which I'll always be grateful for. And but it took a few months to just kind of think, well, maybe we should do something. And that's when we found what was then called gender diversity, is trans families. And but like I always tell our orientation meetings, I spent the first 2 months, I could get my name out and my kid's name, and I burst into tears. And I don't cry. I don't cry in front of anybody. And that's all I could do for the first 2 months of meetings. And then I realized that there are a lot of other people who are going through the same thing, who are further along than I was. And then I realized how happy my kid was. And so, yeah, but mine was not a easy or graceful or very, not something I like to remember actually, but it makes me relatable when I talk to other parents, because yeah, I always tell parents, don't be that hard on yourself, because it's hard, and it's not just about your kid, it's about the whole family. So but I was lucky. I got a kid who helped me along very well. So he's a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say, Carol, that's, all our stories are like that. We may have things where like, oh, I wish I did that differently, but it makes us real. And that helps others. Absolutely. That helps others. So you talked a little bit, Karen, actually about grief, and I actually think that's a great segue into the thing that we were going to do next, which is have Odetta talk a little bit about, it's a different kind of grief, obviously, but it's talking about this time of year and how sometimes that can be a little bit difficult for those of us who have had things happen, or even who are struggling with maybe family not being accepting, or struggling with other losses. So Odetta, did you want to introduce the next part that we were going to?
Yeah. Thank you, Revel. Yeah. So I think another thing that makes this this time of year right now in the moment, and having been named director of programs for trans families, so bittersweet, is that 2 years ago about this time, we were saying goodbye to a family member, my late husband, and my kid's stepdad. Had terminal cancer diagnosis right before COVID was diagnosed. And I knew it was going to be our last Christmas with him, and was trying really hard to make it really beautiful and memorable for our family, and special. And so, last year, when the first milestone marking that time came around, and we were talking about what we wanted to do for the fundraiser, we had a lot of really cool things planned and a lot of fun things planned. And I was not, I wasn't not enjoying those, but I was also carrying this other piece that was grieving the loss of my husband and my children's stepdad. And really wanted, and I know I know that other people are grieving this time of year, and there is our culture tends to turn away from people who are having a hard time this time of year. This is not a happy time for everybody, and it can be a particularly challenging time in the lives of our members of our families as we transition with our children. And so I personally really needed to give voice to that. And Rebel was so great about creating a space in the fundraiser where my youngest and I were able to create a video about our more quiet, contemplative, restorative, and soothing traditions at home that were helping us to get centered around the loss of John and how we would make a space for him without him in our celebrating and our grieving, which are now, you know, tied together. Like they're not separate. They're the same now. And so Rebel asked if one of us asked if we could do it again. And I'm thrilled and honored to have that be part of this time. And I hope that it speaks to people who are suffering with loss and grief and pain during this time.
Yeah. Thank you for that introduction. I'm going to show that now.
Although I was raised in the Christian tradition, I've spent the last 25 years cultivating a spiritual practice that is more eclectic. The season of Advent, recognized in the Christian church and also rooted in the pagan community, sets aside the weeks before winter solstice as a time to honor the coming of the light. This quiet time and darkness, reflecting and meditating on what it means to wait in darkness and uncertainty, has been calling to me, my favorite time of year since I moved to the Pacific Northwest 26 years ago. The darker days and heavy rain are depressing for many, I understand. For my soul, they are a salve, comforting, nurturing days. Naturally slowing down, matching the earth's rhythm. A respite from the culture of busy, from consumerism, from the harshness of our world. Our Advent decorations and rituals reflect the relationship between the ancient and contemporary, and in them I see the similarities, not the differences. One of my favorite things to do is to watch the winter solstice live from Stonehenge. Stonehenge has been a place of worship and celebration at the time of winter solstice for thousands of years, and is seen by many as a sacred site. Even though this meditative practice is from the comfort of our home, with the use of technology, it feels as holy and powerful as if I were actually there with my early ancestors. As the weeks progress in our home, the lighter, more traditional side of Christmas will fill up not only the limbs of our tree, but also the mantle and any bare spaces that remain. Rituals which are more whimsical and certainly less ancient will fill the hours leading up to Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. There's no easy way to say that this year will be challenging for us as a family. Last January, we lost a husband, step-parent, friend, and incredible human. Our John adored the holiday season. He was the merry and bright portion of our celebration, always loving to make us laugh. In the wake of our loss, we hold the ache of knowing he is near, but not with us as we wish. I don't know how we will move through this year's Christmas. I only know that grief in times of darkness is as ancient as the winter solstice itself. We are not alone. Holding sadness, anger, and pain while also holding joy and light is not an impossibility. In fact, this is the deeper meaning of the season for me. In the bleak midwinter, in the darkness, it may feel as if we are alone, that the longest night has no end, but the light has always returned, and we have the promise that it always will.
Haven't seen that since last year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that definitely, go ahead.
No, you go. Thank you.
I was just going to say that, that makes me think of my community and how much my community helps when those times are hard. And this time of year can be hard for a lot of us.
Yeah.
I have some non-accepting family too that I may never see again.
Yeah.
And we all have things that our community helps lift us up about. So that was what I wanted to ask everyone about next, was your community and how your community helps you and lifts you up at these times when it's not all jolly. Does anybody want to talk about community and how they've helped you in times like that?
I'll chime in here a little bit, Revel. And this is maybe slightly tangential, but so I've been part of the trans families family community for a number of years since my kiddo transitioned, like 9 years ago now. But about 4 or 5 years ago, so I've been a volunteer with them for like 3 or 4 years now. I kind of lose track of time a little bit. But just before that, so like say 4 years ago, I was just at a point in my life where I didn't feel like I had a lot of community. And I don't have a huge circle of friends, just kind of doing my thing, doing my work. But I was thinking a lot about community and wanting to broaden my community and have more support, just more community support, yes, but also just more community. But I wasn't sure where I would find that, right? And I didn't really have a sense of where even to look for it. But I kind of just put it out like an intention into the world of like, I would like to find a community. And right around that time is when, when some people that I knew from this, from trans families reached out and asked me if I would consider doing facilitation. And because I would go to, prior to that, we would go to support groups intermittently and stuff, and had gone with more frequency early on in our kiddos transition, but then, kind of tapered off as things stabilized and you kind of got your feet underneath you. Though I always enjoyed that community. And so, I was a little tentative about facilitating and, didn't know if I had the chops to do that, but I said I would consider it. And I started to sit in on some and then kind of fast forward, I started doing facilitation and I really enjoy it. I really enjoy meeting new families and being part of those discussions. And then a couple years in, I looked back and kind of revisited that question in my head of like, community. And I realized like I had found a really beautiful community in the trans families community, both with other facilitators and volunteers, but also just the families and the other families that I've met through there. And so it really fills my cup. It's something I look forward to doing facilitations and being part of groups and being part of things like this. I've found that it really fills my cup, and I feel really supported, and I love being able to to give back in whatever way I can to welcome new families and stuff. So
Yeah. Thank you, Dirk. Thank you. And yeah, you're a fabulous facilitator. I've been there.
thank you.
I've seen it. So good. Who else? Does anybody else want to talk about community? Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to echo what Dirk said. The first trans families meeting we went to, this was back it was in Seattle. It was in person. Dirk, you were the facilitator, actually.
Huh.
And just being able, we were, again, like the fire hose, right? We're just like we're doing okay, but we've got a lot to learn. We got a lot to figure out, and just being in the room with other folks, and I touched on this, but now that I'm working as a facilitator in two different groups, with the Dad's Place and then with the non-binary kiddos. One of the things that always makes me smile is when we're in a space with other parents and somebody says something and they're saying something from the heart, and I see all the other participants, not necessarily the facilitators, but the participants nodding their heads up and down all in unison. And that is so powerful. It's just a really, really neat experience to be able to see that. And I know that we benefited from that. But then at the same time too, to see a parent willingly dive right in and say, I know exactly what you're experiencing because it's so similar to what we experience ourselves. And it's a powerful experience to be the recipient of that knowledge and that care and that love, but to witness it happening firsthand, like either whether you're in a Zoom meeting or meeting in person, it's really special, and it means a lot. I can't imagine a scenario where that you wouldn't feel something when you're in that space. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that too. Absolutely. Thank you, Mike. And families, often are a child's first community. That's what we do, right? That's what we're all doing. So how can families foster that environment for children to safely explore their genders and find their authentic self? Does anybody have any thoughts on that? How do families help create that community for our kids?
One of the things that comes to mind is the idea of allowing yourself to listen rather than impose an identity, and giving space for that identity to flourish around you as a parent, not deciding my kid is a this or my kid is a that, my kid is destined to be a doctor, my kid is always going to wear blue jeans, but rather this kid has a variety of things from which to choose from in terms of interests, in terms of clothing. I'm not saying that there should be, largesse everywhere. Not everybody has that resource. I mean, more like opening yourself up to this space, that within this space, this kid is safe to explore lots of different options. I think sometimes when we have families and our extended families don't know how to interact with a kid who is transitioning, or you've just told your family about your kid being trans, it can be overwhelming because they don't know how to make that space. They don't know how to change the space that is the shape they thought was the shape of their nephew, their niece, their grandchild. And to help our family members kind of loosen up the restrictions on the shape that they initially have, if you can find ways to gently help them create a looser, more flowing shape, so their quite beloved niece, nephew, grandchild can take on the shape they need to, and you still foster that relationship. For me, that's very gratifying and can be helpful in a way that if you're feeling overwhelmed by how to interact with somebody who suddenly isn't the same shape you thought they were, to have somebody say, well, what if you think about it this way, can be really helpful in helping you to relax and hear the new more about the new identity than to more firmly entrench the old perceived identity.
Wow, that was really beautifully said. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really love that. Yeah. I was just thinking about I think like really honest conversations. I was thinking about the beautiful interview that we got to see earlier and with Mike and Frankie.
Mhm.
And thank you. Yeah, thank you. And those honest conversations are so important within a family unit where, you know, we just sit down and have those open, honest conversations. And I know at least in our home, yeah, I was the advocate and I was the person, you know, leading the charge, so to speak. But my son was also my leader, and I empowered him that way. And I said, look, you tell me what it is. I'll go do the things. I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need your help to educate. He knew so much more and still does and always will about, you know, about gender fluidity and gender identity. And that was okay to allow him in our family to be the leader of that, to give us the information we needed to educate us, to share resources with us, to give him that empowerment, helped create a different role really for him within the family as a trans person. Yeah, it was really remarkable, actually, now that I look back on it.
I'll add a little something here, and this actually probably comes from the first meeting or two that I ever attended, you know, a million years ago. And this will be different, I think, for different, well, obviously different families, but different age kiddos. But something that really resonated with me back then and that I've held on to was that our kiddos, especially when they're younger, you know, they're trying to let us know what they need, but they won't always have the language. They won't always have the vocabulary. And so the kind of the thing I learned, and it's morphed, you know, over time as my kiddo has aged, but is to, you know, to inquire and ask in really open-ended ways, like, you know, what they need or what are they thinking or how they're feeling. And you know, part and parcel with that for me was really setting aside, like I was and thought I was, you know, super liberal and open-minded, but then also this journey for me is reveal all these assumptions and, you know, binary ways of thinking that I didn't even know I had, right? And so learning to kind of set those aside, but really just inquire. And, you know, because I often in facilitations and orientations hear families, and I think super well intentioned, say, oh, well, we're going to let our kid take the lead, which I think is great. And in conjunction with that, realizing, again, depending on the age of the kiddo and different communication styles, like, do they have the vocabulary? Do they have the language to communicate what they need or what they're experiencing? And maybe to recognize if they don't, or if you need to kind of draw things out a little bit more. And I get that there's a balance with that, right? You don't want to be all up in their space, and, you know, you want to give people room to grow and room to breathe and room to kind of figure a thing out. But that was helpful for me just to have that mindfulness that, oh, you know, my kid was 6.5 or 7, right? Mm-hmm. Like they may not have the language to say Mom, Dad, because I think her perception of that one was like, I'm just a girl, like, and so didn't necessarily know how to say like, I want to be a girl. They're just like, I'm just a girl. So we're waiting to hear something that she's not necessarily able to say, right, and having that awareness. So yeah, I don't know how that translates to like, or exactly to like, how does a family, but just have that openness, have that the inquiry and that openness, and set aside, kind of look at your own things and set them aside.
Have a curiosity.
A curiosity, yeah.
Yeah, about what we don't know, because there's a lot that we don't know.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
humbling.
it is as parents, absolutely. We do have a couple of kiddos here with their perspectives. Casper and Simon, what are your thoughts about some of the things we've said this evening? Neither of you have said a lot, but if you have thoughts, I would love to hear them.
Honestly, I think especially when it comes to community, the very first thing that popped into mind was this new thing that we did in the Discord server for the youth. That's called arson. It's not as scary as it seems. It's wholesome arson. But basically, it's where somebody puts something in this chat and they say like dysphoria or something they're struggling with, something that's negative, that's weighing them down, and everybody else spams the fire emoji until you cannot see that person's negative thing anymore. And it's a way of people acknowledging that negative thing and carrying it for them, and then everybody at the same time just kind of whisking it away, burning it away for them. And then at the end of this, event that we're doing, we're gonna then like burn the whole channel, which is just archiving it. And so it kind of like all held it together, like we held space together for people's struggles, and we acknowledge them, and then take it, just kind of take it out. And so I feel like that is a really, really good representation, obviously small representation of what community is. Like it's, a non-judgmental space. It's, somewhere where you can be your unique self and unauthentically be yourself. So
yeah, that's I've never done this arson thing. I've never done either kind of arson, this one or the regular
That's
one.
probably good.
But yeah, I feel very much the same way about community is just space where you can be the entirety of yourself, and everyone is okay with that. And there's not assumptions forced upon you of other people's feelings about what you should be or who you should be. Everything from like major aspects of yourself or your gender or like what have you, to if I want to wear like 6 different kinds of stripes at the same time and say it's an outfit, community is people who are going to be okay with that even if they have to avert their eyes.
Yeah. No matter.
Or there was the famous childhood outfit of monkey pajama pants, a striped long sleeved shirt, and a different striped short sleeved shirt over it.
Simon, you said something I think that was really important when you were talking about the arson. That's a ritual that you all have in the Discord. And I think that a lot of what happens for us as families of trans children and youth is that it is incumbent on us, with the help of our child, our kiddo, it's incumbent on us to create new rituals that help embrace this aspect that has been in the darkness, that has been unknown, that's been hidden for whatever reason. of this person that we love so much and that we want to embrace. And oftentimes it does require literally, not literally, sorry, metaphorically and figuratively, getting rid of, burning the old, and bringing in something new and celebrating this new. It's not new. It's not new to the person, but it's new to us, and it's new to our family. Celebrating that and recognizing that, and creating ritual around that is so important.
Well, and I liked that that we had that in the interview, that Mike and Frankie did. We talked about, because that is really important. And I think to every single one of us, we may have had to do that, where our ritual or our traditions have changed over time, and we've had to create new ones. And I think a lot of families do that, but I think for us, there's something different behind it, where we have to we're doing that now, for our kids. We're our kids' community, and we're doing that, and it's important. It's absolutely important. Um, so I wanted to know, we're leading toward nearing the end because we're running out of time. But first of all, I want to say this is an update. We have actually raised a little over $5,000 so far during this stream. So thank you, everyone who's donated. Beautiful, wonderful things. Thank you so much to everyone. We do still have that dollar for dollar match. Let me see how much we have left, because it's getting near the end of it. We actually have $12,000 left on the dollar for dollar match. So even if you don't give right this second, give the next second, because then that match, it'll be matched dollar for dollar, and we really need that. Krista says, thank you, everyone. Yay. Thank you, Krista. And thanks to everyone out there who's helped us out throughout the stream. Yay. Very exciting. So the next thing I wanted to ask everyone is, what is a moment in your family's gender journey that has brought you joy? We talked about that a little bit in Mike and Frankie's stream or interview, but I thought it would be nice to share some of the moments of joy that we've had in our families. Carol, yes.
Sorry. Life in general, with my kid being happy and himself, has been a joy. But a very, very proud moment has been when he was a junior in high school. He went in front of his entire school, all 2,000 members in their diversity assembly, and came out and talked about being trans. And he wasn't sure if he wanted to do it, because it would have outed him. It did out him. But he said, if it helps one kid, come out and feel good about themselves, then it's probably worth it. And who when you're 16 does that? It just and I take zero credit for all of that. That's all him. But he's been really good that way as an advocate, and that's one of my proudest things as a parent that I could possibly think of. And anything that makes you proud as a parent brings you joy. So,
yeah. Aww. Dirk.
So I'm going to piggyback a little bit on that, Carol, if I may. I've known Carol and Simon for some years, even kind of pre-trans families world. And Simon is an amazing young person, and that brings me a lot of joy to have known Simon and watch them grow up. So that's part of it, or that's one thing that I wanted to say. But in our family, and it was kind of this quiet moment of joy. My kiddo has a puberty blocker, and so this is a few years ago when she got that put in. And one of her favorite things, foods, kind of celebratory foods, is pho. So she got to pick where we went for I think it was lunch or dinner, afterwards. And so it was their mom and their sister and I, and then my dad. So the 5 of us at the little pho restaurant here. And she said, kind of just under her breath, and I couldn't really tell if she was just talking to herself or. But she said, "Now I'm a real woman." Just kind of quietly under her breath, she's like now I'm a real woman. And just this real matter of fact, like I'm eating my soup and noodles way, but just with this satisfaction and this matter of factness. And but her mom and I both overheard it. We're like, "Oh, you were always a real woman to us," but she's like, "No, now it's for real, just in this matter of fact way." And I just loved it, and it's always stuck with me, and it always just makes my heart swell when I think of that moment. So it's a good one.
That is a good one.
One thing that stands out to me is like a lot of the conversations my mom and I have had, like now that I'm an adult, about how like there's all kinds of things that I didn't know that either happened or my parents did to support me when I came out as a kid. But the one that stands out the most is she told me how my great aunt reacted when I came out, which was she immediately called her best friend so that the two of them could explain about how excited they were about this. That finally.
Aw,
That's really sweet.
I love it. Does anybody else have one?
Just a short piece. When my daughter finally was able to see her doctor for the first time for the intake and talk about medications and blockers and things like that, and I think she didn't really have a sense of what could be done to help her medically. I don't think she knew what she wanted, but I don't think she had really. So the doctor asks her, would you like these changes to occur? Are these changes that you would like to occur? And my kid's a pretty quiet kid, and her eyes get very big, and she says, we can do that?
No.
And I just wanted to cry. I mean, that was the moment when this is what we need to do, because I want that face all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So we also wanted to, as a takeaway for those people that are watching, just talk about a little bit about what you wish you'd known when you first started down this path, what advice you might have, and maybe if you have any specific people, books, media, anything like that you want to recommend. I would love if we could go around and just talk a little bit about that before we close out for the night. Who has some stuff? Mike.
One of the things looking back, kind of when we started supporting Frankie's journey and we were as a family going through this journey together, was the big moment, and I touched on this, as being in a space with other parents and other kiddos. Just knowing that we weren't alone was massive. And whether it's a group like Trans Families or a local group, is making that connection, and because it's overwhelming, and it can take all the oxygen out of the room real quick as a parent. And so when you're in that space with other folks, it's just I can't describe how powerful that was for us. One of our all-time favorite books as a family is Red, A Crayon Story. It's about the blue crayon wrapped in a red wrapper, and it made so much sense, and we've given it to so many people, and teachers have read it in classrooms, and so and it works for everyone. That book works for literally everyone. It's a children's book, but anyone can read it and learn from it, so I'll throw that out there for the group.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I ditto what Mike just said about it. I wish I had known how many people there were out there who were supportive and who we're going through the same thing, because I would have eliminated that 4 months of being miserable. I always told Simon that the best thing about him being trans is I've made some really good friends. It's really, really true. And this community is really great that way. I yeah, the thing is Simon's always been a fun kid and stuff, but when he when he came out and was a boy, it was just like all the pieces just kind of fit in, and that is, I wish I had known that from the very beginning, that all those pieces would fit in, and everyone would be happier, and make more sense. So I think that's the thing. When we have our orientations meeting, I'm the media person. I have a whole list of books and videos and stuff. I think one of the best things I've seen, it's that PBS Frontline, and it's called Growing Up Trans, and it's like young teenagers talking about their futures as trans kids. And I mentioned that because I have an aunt who just turned 90, and so she was in her 80s when she found out about Simon. And one of my cousins they watched that with her, and it totally made sense for her, and she just was on board from the very beginning because she watched that, because she really wasn't understanding it before. So yeah, so that's the one that I would recommend.
That's great. Thank you. Karen.
I would say don't. So this is going to sound weird. Don't read histories of being transgender, like transgender history in America or whatever. Don't read those books now. Like, wait 5 years and read those books.
Yes.
Go read the middle grade readers at your bookstore that are published right now, because there are some great middle grade readers with trans characters. That's going to tell you. I'm picking middle grade because it's easy for you to read right now. If you're feeling emotional, you don't need something deep, but you do need something that's going to let you feel a little bit of what your kid's going through, because that's what they need you to see. They don't need to know that the world is against them and people are going to want to do horrible things. The world is changing, and also you don't need to focus on that part right now. You need to focus on what's going on with your kid and find a way to connect with them. And so if you need to read something, go read something like that. But don't read things that are heavy and deep
and scary.
You don't need to be scared right now, because that's the other thing I would say, is that all things being equal, you're going to find a lot more joy in this process than you are when sorrow. Once you get past the initial stages of feeling that grief, you're going to find a surprising amount of joy in the process. If you can get on board, you're going to find a lot of things to laugh about with your kid than be sad about your kid.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
One that I often recommend in the Parents of Non-Binary Children group is the Trans Teen Survival Guide. And I like that one because it's written for teens, and it really goes through, like, I liked recommending it for parents because it really goes through just about being trans, but it is in that same vein where it's about, here's things that can happen or that you can do with medical things or social things or whatever kinds of things you want to do. It's presented in a way that's not binary, which I like. And it's not scary. It's not big scary, but it's informative. And that's what, people like to know at the beginning. Like, what is this all about? Well, read this thing and it helps. Yeah. Dirk.
The thing, kind of looking back, a few years for me, I kind of, unlike Mike, I didn't know early on that it was going to be okay. Like I couldn't see that initially, and I was telling recently this kind of, early on, like I had to, when I looked at my kiddo and I was trying to learn pronouns, and like I had to do this translation in my head. I'd see my kiddo and I'd have to kind of translate over, and it was hard, and I felt guilty about it and struggled with that, right? And I was like, I can't do this forever. Like, it's going to be exhausting to try to translate forever. And so I guess what I want to pass along to other parents is there came a day when I couldn't remember, I couldn't tell you when it happened, but that I just wasn't translating anymore. Like I just looked at my kiddo and I just saw the little girl that she is, and my brain didn't have to do a translation. I didn't have to like check my words and my pronouns or anything. And so I offer up that the day will come. Like if you're early in the journey and it feels like like my brain's never going to be able to get there, I offer up that it will. You'll get there. Be patient. Stick with it. Give yourself a little grace, and kind of part and parcel with that. Back to the overwhelm, the fire hose and that sense of overwhelm, because there was so much at first, and and with the kind of their mom and I were really supportive of each other, of like kind of one step at a time. There can be so much to confront, and and logistical things like names and documents and stuff, and break it down into small steps. It's not a sprint, and then lo and behold, one day you look back and you're like, oh, we're here. We're like many miles down the road that we never thought we could get down. So that's my thought.
Hang on. Just hang on.
One step at a time.
Casper, where are you gonna go?
Yeah, I just want any parents or other adults or whatnot to know it really, really helps if you listen to your kid, even if you have to like drag information out of them by the hair, depending on the kid. Just do your best to listen to what they're like, what they have to say, or what they don't have to say. Because they're the only one who knows.
Yep. Thank you. Anybody else? Did everybody? Oh, did I? Don't think you went yet.
No, I didn't go. I think I would say like my least proud moment as my son's parent during that time was just we don't have time to tell the story. It's a really powerful story. I'll tell it someday. But I think the lesson from that was I'm not in charge. I don't have control. This is a process that's happening with someone else. And this person, whether somewhere inside, this person knows what is right for them and they're trying to get there. And I am a recovering control freak. And I was the parent. I'm the one in charge. Like I thought I was going to be able to pace things for my own comfort level. And that was not the case. And I made a couple mistakes early on because of that. And then after that, I was like, oh yeah, I can't do that anymore. I'm going to do damage. And it's still painful sometimes for me to think about that. But I also like feel obligated to say like, you can't, it's a process that you don't have any control over. That's not your job as a parent. And that was super hard.
I think that's hard with parenting in general too, but with this, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I could do a 30-minute talk on the things that happened that made my brain go, oh my gosh. And where I would go, okay, yeah, no problem, and then I'd go get on my phone and text them and be like, oh my gosh, like, all right, you get that look, that kind of crazy look, or it feels crazy, but yeah. It's a wild ride, and I will say 100% that there's way more joy than there is. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes. To see your child thriving and being the person that they were born to be. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's awesome.
All right. Well, Simon, did you have any resources or anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I'm pretty much Odetta and Casper stole my last brain cell.
Yeah.
Both of those things seem like pretty much what I was gonna say. So yeah, and then as for resources, I guess for people to look into, I would say like I don't know, I only know trans people, but like Aiden Dowling is a really, really good person to look at for information on all different kinds of things. So
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks, everybody, for being here and helping us with our winter fundraiser. Like I said at the beginning, we're raising $130,000 to help with our programming for 2024, and we can't do it without you. That's my PBS moment.
It's true. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for donating while we were doing the stream. And go to transfamilies.org/donate. We will be fundraising, continuing, and we are hoping to run out that match, which is at $12,000, dollar for dollar match for the next $12,000. So if anybody's got 12,000 out there, we can take care of this really quick. Or if not,
and if not, every little bit helps.
Every little bit helps.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So thanks, everybody, and thanks for being here tonight. Thank you to the panel here. Thank you so much,
facilitators, our
everyone,
great
for being here.
facilitators. Yeah, we couldn't do this without you all either. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.